Mr. Mittal, your expectations this time, NK Singh said it could be a shock and awe budget. What do you think it can have, either shock or awe? What would surprise you? Mr. Mittal, good morning. Can you hear me? Mr. Mittal, I don't have the audio line with Mr. Mittal. Let's put this to our panelists here. Let's put this with our panelists here. What is a shock and awe budget in your view? Would any of our panelists like to stick their neck out?
Can I
Mr. Kasliwal, okay.
Basically, I think I hear today that India is not such a great investment destination. There could be nothing more shocking than that. All the finance minister needs to do is to correct some of the wrong things that have happened, even by his own government, and bring India back on the map.
Yeah.
As an investment destination, there can be no better place given the kind of demographics we have and the kind of growth potential we have.
Lord Desai.
Shock would be abolish the diesel subsidy, and awe would be to promise a deficit target of below 4% for next year.
You can't do that. Can you do that?
You can promise.
You can promise. Swapan Dasgupta.
You see, that's one of the things. The sanctity of the budget has been eroded to such a large extent that we tend to treat almost every announcement in the budget with a great deal of skepticism. Because what happens after that negates all the pious and good intentions. And I think we've seen Environment Ministry, and I think it's very important to keep mentioning that. It's been a single most important factor. Jairam Ramesh should get the prize for boosting the Chinese economy.
Why?
He should really, because if anybody has dampened the India story, it is this man.
That's a bit harsh.
I totally second that.
Shock and awe prescription.
I'll give you a shock and awe prescription. I said it, I suggested, and it's come into the DTC report of Standing Committee. Do you know that 90%, 89% of Indian taxpayers pay only 10% of the direct tax collected? So we have 3 crore taxpayers paying 10,000 or 15,000 crores.
No, now tell me what should be done.
Can this FM raise the minimum exemption limit up to 5 lakhs? Bring money into the hands of the people.
Can he do that?
And get that multiplier effect into the
Subhashish
economy.
Large
investment, large consumption, large spending.
I thought 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, people say, you say 5 lakhs, yes.
You see, there was some talk earlier about the tax GDP ratio. Our tax GDP ratio currently is high, right? It's not low. It's better than in many countries in a similar situation. The important point is that what NK Singh said about shock and awe. He did not say shock or awe, which is what we have been discussing right through the morning, that it will be a shocking budget or an awesome budget. Right? But the one thing that Lord Desai said, the one thing that will both shock and awe is the diesel subsidy. Right? If he can do something on that...
I think he's going to do it in part.
But
but that would both shock and awe.
Within the budget,
and
most of the petrol diesel decisions are taken outside the budget. Do you think he's going to jeopardize the budget passage with bringing in something like
I suspect there's a method in this madness also. What they will do is they'll bring it in, then the High Command, the Supremo will say, no, this is bad for the common man. Then they'll roll it back and say, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for what you've done for us.
I think one key point to raise is whether... I want to go to Mr. Mittal because I think we have the line with him. The key question is, I'm going to come back to the panel on that, is, are the contentious issues going to be kept out of the budget? A politically safe fuel will be keep the contentious issues out of the budget? No. In fact, make it a statement. Mr. Mittal, good morning. Sorry, I think we got a line back with you, Mr. Mittal. Good morning. Can you hear me? This is Arnab here.
Yes, I can. Morning, Arnab.
Good morning, Mr. Mittal. Yes. So what is your expectation, Mr. Mittal, of this budget, which some in our panel believe can be a shock and awe budget if Pranab Mukherjee so chooses? What is your expectation, Mr. Mittal?
Well, I believe the finance minister has a tough task ahead of him, but clearly to my mind, the economic survey, which came out yesterday, and the focus on agriculture is going to be the game changer as we go forward, especially for the 12th five-year plan. I also believe if we have to look at a 4% growth during this plan, clearly there need to be policy interventions, and there need to be budgetary allocations made in this budget as well. I believe the private sector investment need to be brought in, they need to be incentivized, and there are areas where I believe we need to look at average weighted deduction for 200% on the research and development, Extension services is absolutely not happening, and clearly the farmer is at a loss of using new techniques, new modern technologies, as well as the proper and efficient use of fertilizer and insecticide. The other area which I believe is going to be a huge catalyst for bringing investments is the multi-brand retail FDI. The debate has been happening, and I only wish that this policy decision is taken and we move forward in looking at investments coming in. There also needs to be public-private partnership on clearly cold chain and supply chain areas, because the food production levels in the last 2 years have been very encouraging, but the marketing at the front end and the storage facilities are wanting, and we end up losing a lot of food grain as well as perishable produce. And I think on the policy decisions, clearly what I look at is perishable produce need to be taken out of the APMC Act, because that is where the farmer is suffering a huge losses, not getting the right prices, and we end up wasting about 25 to 40% of perishable produce. And why can't the farmer be given the freedom to sell directly to the food processing companies, retailers and aggregators?
Well, I think that's a tall order that you've laid out, Mr. Mittal. We'll follow up with you after the budget to see how far the government has been able to meet some of your expectations. Mr. Rakesh Bharti Mittal, thank you very much. Now, let me welcome Naina Lal Kidwai, who is CEO of HSBC. Thank you very much, Ms. Naina Lal Kidwai. Among the other questions, of course, from broad expectations, are you still hopeful of this government in the present situation, given the political sensitivities attached to it, to be able to raise FDI in the banking sector anywhere beyond 24%? And also a general overview, your expectation of the budget, given the political pressures that have existed on Pranab Mukherjee in the run-up to the budget. Ms. Kidwai.
Specifically, Arnav, on growth, I do hope and believe this budget will be pro-growth, and that would be quite a statement, because it's coming in the backdrop of what is a very difficult fiscal deficit situation. The pro-growth nature would be evident in terms of SOPs to industry and lessening the burden going forward in terms of tax. So at one level, the market widely expects excise duties and service tax to be put up back to the levels in the pre-Lehman period, so almost 2% up. Anything less than that would, I think, be a positive, because it would suggest that there is a desire to keep growth on the agenda. You ask about banking, there's nothing in terms of banking FDI that is expected on the cards, but there will be some, I expect, changes, quite important ones, which will be there, which will enable foreign banks, for example, to move into being wholly owned subsidiaries, which is a positive for the sector as a whole. And this would be more in terms of enabling legislation regarding capital gains tax to enable that conversion. I would like to see a lot more on disinvestment. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for the government to use what it has in hand and use that to good effect at a time when it is needed. So putting disinvestment back on the calendar this year, whether it's through this newer norm which was at a trial stage at ONGC, it can be refined, but we can go back to doing IPOs, which were quite successful in the disinvestment cases of yesteryears, and use a mix of ways of ensuring that government can actually disinvest and put that money to work for infrastructure, for growth, and to ensure that the fiscal deficit is brought under control. It's going to be, to my mind, interesting to watch. You talk about a political backdrop. I believe it is exactly that political backdrop that will drive the government to indicate that reform is back on track, and that Pranab will... because at the end of, we are still, well, it's 2 years away from an election. It is an opportunity to bring growth back into the Indian story, and it's not difficult to do because the underpinnings of the economy are still strong. We still have the right demographics. We still have good consumption-led growth. We have a strong services story. It's manufacturing and industry that is suffering. It's suffering not just because of high interest rates, that is a cause, but a very small part of the cause. It is to do with the whole administrative machinery around what exists as an investment climate. And some of that lies at the state level, but the centre can create the context quite easily by showing that it is moving ahead on power in particular, and some of the issues that have hit the power sector, the whole land acquisition matter, allowing that to move forward, and actually say that it is in a mode to ensure that gross capital formation and investment is back on the agenda as far as government is concerned, and they are hell-bent on ensuring that that will happen. So there are things which the government can signal, and then of course will have to execute on. But I would hope that we are in a regime now where it isn't just the government in power, that all our ministers coming from various parties set the country's agenda for growth there. We can achieve 7.5% if we set our minds to it. If not, we are going to slump back into a 6% growth, which is not good for anyone, not good for the poor, not good for the country, not good for our future.